Hello, everybody, and welcome to UNM Esports, another one of our Engineering Student Success Center retention nights. I'm Dieter, that's Toby, the Student Recruitment Specialist, here to talk about why you should keep being an engineer here at the University of New Mexico. Right here, we are watching the Rocket League junior varsity team play the varsity team in a little in-house friendly scrim, just for something to kind of watch and talk about in between questions. That being said, if you have any, throw them in the chat, and then our voice of God, Ford, our production associate member, I don't know what you would call him, over the guy behind everything, he'll chime in and ask the question for you. So yeah, if you have any questions about UNM Engineering, anything like that, just go ahead and drop it in chat, and we will be sure to answer that. I guess we should go and say why we can answer those.
Yeah, so as Dieter introduced me, thank you for the introduction. My name is Toby. I am the recruiter for the School of Engineering, and although you guys are already here at UNM, so technically my job is done in trying to recruit you. I did a good job on that one, I guess. I also know a lot about our student services, our support services, and any of the kind of things that you guys might be thinking, man, I really wish UNM offered this as a service, or man, I really could use this kind of help right now, or even just imagining in the future, hey, I'm probably going to have this coming up. How am I going to solve this problem then? Why try to solve it then? Why not kind of get ahead of the game here a little bit and try to solve some of these problems now, right? Or at least move the chess pieces in preparation to solve these kind of things. And that's exactly what I am here to kind of talk about tonight. Especially one of the new things that we've been rolling out is called our Corporate Associate Program, or Corporate Associateship. That, for those of you guys who are thinking, all right, I'm going to get my degree, and then what? Right? That's a great question. But you shouldn't be shrugging your shoulders and going, and then what? I'll figure it out later. No, let's get you something lined up beforehand, because on the very, very low end, an average engineer with a bachelor's degree is going to make about $60,000. And again, that's on the low end. But what that means is if it takes us 6 months to find you a job after you graduate, we've then cost you $30,000. And I don't know about you, but that seems like a pretty unacceptable answer.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, like that could, for some of you guys, double or triple the amount you've paid for UNM to begin with. And so our goal isn't to get you a job after you graduate. That, to me, is the wrong answer. Our goal is to get you whatever your next step is: graduate school, internship, PhD, although I guess PhD is graduate school. But point being, a job, career, pathways, lab manager, whatever it is you're looking at, our goal is to get you lined up with that before you even graduate. That way, you're already having that next step. All you got to do is pass your classes, and you're set up and ready to go. So that's a big one that we've been pushing lately, is the Corporate Associate Program. The first two partners on that one are actually, it's a private and a governmental organization. So one is Sandia National Labs, and the other one is Honeywell. So they do a lot of government and private contracts. They do everything from the thermostat on your walls to the bombs that go off on countries. So
and also they are currently the owners, I think, of Sandia. I believe that Sandia is a Honeywell lab.
Yes, they very much are. Yeah, so a lot of what that means for those of you guys who are... Actually, Dieter, if you want to explain kind of what that means, because you as an engineer probably have a better understanding of that than I do.
Of...
what it means for Honeywell to be so partnered with Sandia.
Sandia is one of the 5 research...
there's 8 national labs.
8 national labs in America. I think there's like 5 engineering labs and then 3 physics labs, or some breakdown of that amount. Sandia is an engineering lab. Los Alamos is a physics lab. But that basically means that Sandia hires a lot of engineers, and hires a lot of very good engineers. A lot of them come from UNM, but also from all over the world. I'm taking 2 classes here that are in conjunction with UNM and Sandia this semester. One of them's taught by an Iranian guy who's worked at Sandia for like 40 years, and then the other one's taught by I think he was Texas A&M, but he's like, yeah, I get to go all over the country and all over the world in his nuclear security career. So it's one of the best labs in the nation, especially for engineering, and a huge amount of just R&D gets done there, particularly in nuclear engineering. That's at least what I know it for, because I am a nuclear engineer. But I know that they also hire a huge amount of mechanicals and electricals and to do uh, whatever else
Yeah,
they do there. I don't know.
They're big ones in terms of, well, mechanical is just everything,
Yeah.
right? That's the role of mechanical. What are they involved in? Everything. In terms of computing, they do a lot of quantum computing these days. Which, for those of you guys who may not know what quantum computing is, if you guys know what binary computing is, right? Ones and zeros, it's either one, it's zero, and it goes infinitely that direction. I'm glad I pointed the right direction that time. Whereas quantum computing, it'll still go infinitely this direction, but it'll superimpose between the 1 and 0 to use the infinite space in between to calculate. Now, because I'm a psychology major, that is literally as far as my understanding of the concept goes. But what my understanding of the concept is that it allows computations and communications to occur simultaneously at the speed of light. And so the implication of this would be something like a self-driving car network, where if we think about something, actually, we're watching online video games here. Lag sucks, right?
Yes.
It is the death knell to online video games. I remember playing online video games in 2008, 2009, whatever, and just being so frustrated. It took me like another 5 years before I even tried again, because it was just awful. And even then, it is, slowly, but it has finally gotten to where it needs to be to really be able to play large multiplayer games. But that's with less serious concepts. I know this is esports. I don't mean to diminish what we do here, but this isn't something life or death, right?
Mhm.
Whereas if we look at something like a self-driving car network, if they're all trying to communicate with each other and they have lag at all, that could be a life or death issue. And so something like quantum computing would allow a self-driving car network to then communicate at the speed of light together and make sure that those cars are communicating effectively with each other to say, hey, I'm about to turn left, you should slow down. And that would, of course, keep drivers much more safe. Or I shouldn't say they wouldn't be drivers, it'd be the passengers, right? Much more safe. But, the implications are also, something like Oasis from Ready Player One. And I know the moral of that story was supposed to be that, hey, maybe we should put down the video games.
Yeah, maybe you should go outside.
Yeah, and I greatly disagree with the moral of that story. I am ready for the Oasis.
Not to go on too much of a tangent, but that movie was weird.
That was a weird movie.
I haven't read it, but I've heard the book is even weirder.
The book is amazing. If you haven't read the book, it's a very different story. It uses a lot of the same plot points, but it's a very different story than the movie. Highly recommend.
But yeah, basically that's all. I guess the premise of that is their tech got so advanced that there is no reason that you'd ever have to go outside, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
And to the point of oh, they got VR so advanced that they, it was essentially real reality instead of just virtual reality. And I mean I don't know if Sandy is working on that, but I know that other companies are working on that all over. So that's definitely one thing that quantum computing would be able to enable more. I know quantum computing...
Ooh, nice shot off the back.
Quantum computing is used a lot in, or one of the things they want to use it is nuclear codes, because unsurprisingly, the middle of a nuclear reactor is a quite messy place to computationally model, and some of the most advanced computers in the world are used to model nuclear reactors. So the stronger your computer, the better the model is, and I don't know exactly what's going on here in the match. It was a scrim, but it also wasn't, because it keeps going, so I don't know if that was a game mode where you just keep playing, maybe for 10 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah, but while we work through these technical difficulties, a few other things, as you said, modeling. Modeling's a big part of what they do. Not just in nuclear, but even with proteins, enzymes, those kinds of things, because it requires, for those of you guys who took, basic level biology, you guys probably know this, a protein to match with the protein holder requires a very specific shape and kind of key thing here, right? And so reversing that requires, it's possible, but it requires a lot of computational power. That takes a lot of very dedicated, high-powered computers to do it, which still even takes a long time to do that. Whereas quantum computing would allow these computations to occur and these models to occur even quicker and allow us to develop proteins that would then work on doing actually whatever that protein is designed to do. And the last I had heard is there's been a fairly successful HIV vaccine. Now, it's still, I think it's trial 3, or not trial 3, whatever the animal
Phase 3?
stage is, that was fairly successful in preventing HIV, and that was a large part thanks to quantum computing being able to identify the proteins that would work on an HIV vaccine. So those are the kind of things that are being done with quantum computing kind of all over the place.
Absolutely. I know that, doesn't UNM have some sort of quantum computing research center?
We do. So
Yeah.
you are right. So we have kind of, we'll call it 1.5. So for starters, we do have computations and, or what is it? Center for Advanced Research Computing, which does, well, all kinds of advanced research. So quantum, super, and just general ways of figuring out, hey, there's some new stuff that we could do with these computers. Let's do some cool stuff.
That was almost such a good just defense there, but
Mhm.
Fossil was able to just get that one in.
That's why you attack the net.
Bounced it back off of Fossil, unfortunate there.
So yeah, we have that, and they actually do some cool work with. If you guys are interested in drones, they do a lot of really cool work with drones. Oh,
all right. Not quite right off the tip off, but no, that actually was. Look at that.
yep.
Just one little doink in and
Took
all right.
11 seconds.
Yeah. Almost the fastest that you can do it.
Yeah. So they use drones. To one of the cool ones that they're using drones for right now over at Kark is to identify fissures and cracks in infrastructures, to see things that humans can't see, and to be able to, a couple of quick scores there.
Yeah.
But to identify them and list them out and say these are the actual fissures, so that way we can identify and improve our infrastructure, fix our infrastructure, before it becomes a significant issue, like the bridge collapse that happened in, I believe it was in Minnesota in 2008, 2009, somewhere around that range. That's the worst case scenario, and we want to be able to improve that, or at a minimum, if it is going to collapse, we should know about it ahead of time, so that way we can get everybody off of it.
I don't think I know about that bridge collapse. The only one I can remember recently was the one in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yes.
That one, and then there was, but I think it was more when they were building it. There was one in it wasn't the University of Florida, but like some international university in Florida, like a pedestrian bridge collapsed.
Yeah, I believe that to be at FIU, Florida International, yeah.
But either way, I mean, that's still important things to be able to calculate. And here, Nova, 5-0, kind of, I mean, what you really are expecting from JV versus varsity. Or I guess they're technically not varsity. It would be Cherry versus Silver here for UNM. 5-0. I actually kind of expected the Silver team to put up a bit more of a fight, especially as what we were seeing in the last one that went 7 minutes or whatever.
Yeah,
that game mode. It was
close.
like 3-4.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was they were just all on a different team, they rebalanced or something, but I do know that even without looking at the scores, the white team instead of the gray team is the Cherry side, just because I know Fossil is one of our Cherry players. I have no idea who any of the other people on our varsity team is, but I know that Fossil is. So he is our coordinator, and he's been our coordinator for Rocket League for 3 years now, I think. And you all can't see, but we have now 2 trophies. But for a while, we only had 1 trophy up here in the space, and that was from Rocket League.
Oh, there you go.
So, and our team is not. I don't think we were in that many tournaments this year, but apparently next year with incoming students, we are going to possibly be the best in like the entire West, not just like the state or the region.
Perfect.
So, come join our Rocket League team if you think you're that good.
Yeah. Well, actually, that'll bring us a good opportunity. If I'm a student, I'm sitting here and I'm like, dang, this is pretty cool. How do I go about joining?
I think we got our Vanity Discord back. It's discord.gg/UNM Esports. That's our Discord server. And if you want to play for us or something, basically you just join the server, fill out our rules, and accept all the things and whatever. And then when you introduce yourself, because we have a little introduction channel, just be like, hey, I want to join the Rocket League team or Rainbow Six, or I think Apex is still recruiting. Not entirely certain about that one. Not still recruiting? Okay. Most of our teams are kind of continually recruiting. If you're better than one of our current players, you will always get a spot. And we're always recruiting for that. We're also always recruiting for production. So basically what you just need to do is join our Discord, say what you're interested in, and then one of us will reach out and be like, hey, you're interested in this. Here's an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's it's really, you don't need to go particularly far out of your way. We'll meet you most of the way there. Because we're usually, especially if you want to do anything production related, we're always looking. No matter what it is, we're always looking. That goes for every team, but production in particular.
Oh.
It said JV1, but I don't think that's correct. Because I'm pretty sure Nova's on our varsity team. But I also haven't watched a JV versus varsity game in a while, so
Maybe they need to flip the labels?
Yeah. My guess is they just need to flip the labels, but I have no idea. Because they weren't in any tournaments this semester, I couldn't even tell you. I never watched, never shoutcasted them or anything.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't know. Have there been any questions in chat about whatever? Nope. Okay.
So one thing I also want to talk to you guys about tonight is again, I was kind of pushing or kind of talking about the corporate associate programs earlier, but another one, because maybe you're thinking, hey, I don't want to work for Sandia, I don't want to work for Honeywell, just not my kind of cup of tea. We also have a lot of one-to-one internship programs. Now, a one-to-one internship program, it's very simple. We pay a month, your company pays a month, whoever you get that internship at. The great thing with these one-to-one internships is, unlike businesses, like your kind of traditional business, or unlike law firms or even teaching hospitals, engineering firms aren't particularly interested in having interns rolling in and out the door a bunch. Once they train you, they are very interested in keeping you. So with that in mind, and Dieter's nodding his head, and our voice of God is nodding his head back there. So my point being here isn't that they don't want internships, it's that they use this as a 2-month interview process. And so at the end of the 2-month interview process, if they like you, they typically want to hire you. And a lot of them are also very interested in the continued training and education of their employees. So a lot of them will also go, hey, you're interested in a master's degree? It'd be crazy if somebody paid for that, right? So I would really recommend checking that out. Directly above me, I've become smart enough to learn to just point above me instead of trying to do waves.
Oh, wrong way.
Yeah, see?
This one.
So directly above us is the QR code for the Engineering Student Success Center. You can always reach out to me, and I'll be happy to connect you with whoever it is that you are looking to speak to. Or you can go, hey, you were talking about XYZ. Who do I talk to about that? But if you're looking for any kind of internship or career placement type programs, talk to Nada Abdelhek. And again, her information is. See, I was about to do the wave again. See, talk to her this direction. Yep, over here.
Right here.
And yeah, right over Dieter. And she will be more than happy to help you out. That is her entire job. And if you guys are wondering if she's any good at her job, she actually won one of the UNM Staff Members of the Year awards recently. So she's very good at what she does. She's very passionate about what she does. And every day I talk to her, she's excited about new opportunities that she's getting for students. So you just go in and talk to her. That was great defense there. You go in and talk to her, and she's going to be able to help you out and get you something placed. That goes for resume writing, interview techniques, because there's a big difference, as I'm sure like Dieter can attest to, between a professional interview and a technical interview, right? And how you handle those two things are very, very, very different. So I can prepare you all day for a professional interview. But if I'm preparing you to go into a professional or to go into a technical interview, but I'm preparing you professional interview-wise, I'm setting you up to fail.
Well, there's also a very big difference between a panel interview and a one-on-one, or a two-on-one, and now there's 5 people. And that's, I think Sandia prefers the panel interview, but I know a lot of other companies, they don't either have the manpower or care, really. So they'll just only have the one-on-one. So, it kind of just depends on where you're looking, and you'll be told when they want to interview you. And, I would say that if you're good at one-on-one interviews, you might not be as good at panel interviews. So it's definitely a good resource. And I think the ESS does mock interviews, right?
We do help conduct mock interviews, and we'll actually bring in hiring professionals from the field. So these are actually people who make decisions, yes or no. And so you get to practice your interviewing skills with the actual people who, in a year or 2 or 3 or down the road, you might actually be interviewing for a job for. Right, and so as I'm sure a lot of you guys have already figured out, or if you're younger, you're starting to figure out, half of doing something right is figuring out how the person wants it done, right? Half of writing a good English paper is figuring out how the English teacher wants it written, right? Or half of doing math is figuring out the end stage that the math teacher wants it in, right? What is simplified to them versus another teacher, right? And so a lot of that
can... Okay, no.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, it did... I really... that was like... Well, we might be able to get it on the replay, but it just, like... slowly bounced in. Yeah. I think Fossil just got like 3 in a row right there.
Yeah, it was a 3-0 deficit, and they tied it up.
That was I saw that. I guess it's the score cam or the score emote of that dragon dinosaur or whatever it is 3 times in a row. So maybe 2 people are running it. I don't know. But I think Fossil just scored 3 in a row.
He does have 3 goals. I don't know if that's for the total, or I don't know if that's for the match or the total play time.
I believe it's for the match.
Okay.
Oh, good demo.
There you
that
go.
Just puts it right in.
But so the ability to practice with these people is extremely beneficial, because in a couple of years you might be interviewing with them, and you'll know exactly what they want to see, right? We also do mock resumes, mock cover letters, how to write a CV. For those of you guys who don't know, a CV is like a resume, except it has everything, right? Absolutely everything. A resume is much more tailored to the job that you're looking at, and so a lot of places will want to see an initial resume just to see kind of like the highlights of what you've done professionally. And then once they're more interested in you, then they're going to want to see the CV for the actual details on things.
Yeah, that is Fossil. 4 in a row right there. Just getting another one. Let's see. He just tips it right in from a weird angle that not everyone would be expecting.
Yeah, got him from the rugby angle. That was an impressive shot.
I saw Ford do some sort of motion, but I don't know what that motion meant.
Yeah, do we have a question, Voice of God?
Okay. That was just to say that we are going to us. One more now. 5-3.
6-3 there. It looks like.
3. Sure. I can't see it. Yeah, I know that writing resumes, there are a huge amount of just resources all over UNM campus to do that, especially online. There's also good just ways to learn how to write a resume because a resume is not super difficult to write. Uh, I always have such a hard time with cover letters, though.
Yeah.
It's so awkward to write about yourself in that sort of way without feeling super self-conscious or egotistical about it.
Yes.
So that's definitely something I would recommend everyone checking out. Of course, also the resume and fossil. 7-4. I feel like we've seen like 4 different goals in the past like minute
Yeah.
or so. There's high-scoring game here, JV versus varsity.
So one thing you can do, because you're right, that is super awkward to write about yourself in that way. One thing a friend and I do that really helped us was we basically wrote a kind of form template cover letter for ourselves, and we were like, here's the things we want to talk about, and I wrote it for him, and he wrote it for me. So that way we weren't writing about ourselves in this weird, awkward, past tense, current tense voice, because it's much easier to write about somebody else that way than it is to write about yourself that way. And so, that's something that if you guys have friends who are good at writing, and you're good at writing, you can kind of trade duties with each other to help each other out, so that way you can kind of get over that awkwardness, because, yeah, it feels weird to do that. Just it does.
I forget, there's always, I think it's cover letters. There's some, like, snarky, famous, like, nerddom, like, it might be the hello, my name is Indigo Montoya.
Oh, yes.
Good, my father, prepare to die. Or it's, like, perfect, like, hello, my name is Indigo Montoya. Like, good introduction. Reason why you're here. You killed my father. And
set expectations.
Set expectations. Prepare to die.
Yes.
So there's a whole bunch of nerdy things like that. Just in, I guess, resume memes you'd call those. Here, as we're in between games, that was varsity winning that one. Fossil putting 5 goals in, 4 or 5 goals looks like right there. 7-4, pretty high scoring game.
Yeah, he really put the team on his back. They were down 3-0, and he went on a run there and just really took over.
Absolutely. And now we're on a different map. It looks like we're in Atlantis, or the like, it actually kind of looks like the Gungan village in that Star Wars movie. Maybe it's just like a aquarium or something. But
now let me ask you: do the maps affect gameplay at all,
no.
or are they just different skins?
As far as I'm aware, they're different skins. They might have different ceiling heights.
Okay.
But as far as I'm aware, they're just different skins.
So, like the last one, if I'm correct, was more sandy on the ground. That doesn't affect speed
that
or anything?
That one was... I thought the last one was just like the standard one. I think
oh, it was. You're
one.
right.
The first one was sandy, and I'm pretty sure that's all cosmetic.
Okay.
But I don't entirely know.
Yeah.
I was never good at Rocket League, so I didn't play all that much. But from what I remember, pretty much everything in this game... the cars do matter a little bit, but for the most part, the cosmetics are pretty much just cosmetics.
Okay. And what would the differences in the cars be? Is it mostly just the length of the cars and the size of the cars might affect?
I think it's mostly like the larger cars are a little bit slower, but they're easier to get demos on. I think this car here, Nimrock, or whatever you want to, however you would pronounce that, that's like the standard one. Most people plays, or Nova. I don't remember what that's called. But I think the one that Nova's playing and the one that, there was a different one that looked like your pretty stereotypical car. Not this one, that A5 Pan one.
Aspen?
Aspen?
Yes.
Sure, Aspen.
And
Thank you, Voice of God.
Octane is the name of that car that you're looking at.
That's Octane, and then the other one that I think... I want to say... I don't know who else. There's someone playing the other really standard one. I think it's Dylan R, but that might also be Octane. But anyways, that's to say that this Formula 1 one is not normal, and I think the Octane is just like the best like durability, speed, agility. You know, everything's pretty balanced on it.
Yeah.
All cars have the same speed and everything. It's how it handles the ball.
How it handles the ball. Okay.
So this car here has a better, like, you can carry it on the hood a little easier than you can the Octane.
Oh, okay. All I know is that there's also a party bus, and that's really that's the BM car.
Okay.
When you're up, you know, 2-0 in a series, that's when you change to the party bus and just 3-0 them with it. But I don't play this game, so I don't really know much about it besides car football or car soccer.
Car soccer, yeah.
Professional car ball. That one's just a clean going in. Nova there trying to play defense.
Yeah, got close, but he tipped it off the edge there.
Yeah. So I think that's the other car that you sometimes see, that black and red one. I think that's Zanelock who's playing it. Yeah, I think this one's pretty normal, but I've only watched a little bit of Rocket League. So.
What games do you typically call?
I do a lot of League of Legends, and at this point I'm also a Call of Duty caster, which is weird because I've never played Call of Duty fan card, but I'm, I guess, just our caster now for it. So, if you ever want to join production, you don't even need to play the games and we'll put you on the broadcast. That's what happened with me. It's usually me and Luke who are casting that. I think he has played a little bit of Vanguard. I don't think he even plays it that much anymore, like, because no one plays that game anymore.
He did play COD for a while.
But, I mean, that's also relatively an easy game to play or an easy game to cast, because it's very straightforward.
Yes.
In its, their objectives are very easily defined, so it's super easy to just kind of, if you know how to play, or if you know how to cast an FPS, it's the same thing. So, yeah, Rocket League's really the one weird, like Rocket League and League of Legends are like the two weird games that no skills are transferable between casting any of them. League, because it's just such a unique game in that it's a MOBA, and Rocket League in that it's soccer but not. So you almost want like if we actually had like a real soccer commentator, that would probably be what we'd want for Rocket League, but we don't have that. So here we are.
And again, if you guys who are watching, you guys are primarily probably engineers and computer scientists. That's the intention of the event, at least. But you guys have friends who are in the media school or in the communication school or in bored at home school, right? Whatever they're doing, the School of Hard Knocks, whatever. No, they have to be a UNM student, don't they?
Yes, but also no.
Okay.
We would prefer it.
Okay.
It makes our life a lot easier if you are a UNM student. But that being said, we are relatively accommodating to outside just members of the community if you want to come and be on production. But for the most part, we would prefer if you are a UNM student.
So, so your friends who are UNM students, and we'll stretch at most a little bit to being a CNM student, if they're looking for something that, because the other thing is especially if you're like a communications major, this can look pretty good on a resume.
Yeah. Oh, Aspen there.
Right? Because, like, we always talk about how, how we make sure that engineers have good hands-on skills, right? Well, this is the hands-on skill of a communications major here. So, have them come over here and get some actual practice in communications, right?
Yeah, we're pretty much always looking. Also, I'm always surprised that there's no actors lining up trying to do this, but I guess it's a slightly different skill set.
So we do have a question in chat.
Oh, we do have
a question.
Not
Here we go.
related to UNM Engineering at all, but I thought I would just pass it along. Question is cereal or milk first?
Oh, cereal first, for sure.
What's milking first? That
serial killers.
That would just make a mess.
Yeah.
I guess if it's like Rice Krispies, that's not really going to like splash that much. But like pretty much any of like harder cereal like Captain Crunch would just make an absolute
No,
mess.
I'm telling you, I can name 3 people off the top of my head who do that. It's Ted Bundy. Let's see. What are other famous serial killers? We'll find 2 more, but those are the people who put in milk
Jack the
first.
Ripper. I don't even know if
Jack the Ripper.
I don't even know if cereal was around.
He was the inventor
then.
of cereal simply so he could put milk in first.
Because I think Kellogg's. I want to say Kellogg's was started in like the 1890s.
Yeah, late 1800s, early 1900s. Has an interesting history.
A real weird history behind Kellogg's.
That you guys can look up on your own.
Yeah, the history of Frosted Flakes was like, or not, I guess Corn Flakes.
Corn Flakes, yes.
Because they didn't put a lot of sugar on it until like Kellogg, the guy, died, and they're like, all right, just dump a lot of sugar on it to make this taste actually okay.
Yeah.
But
because he thought it was immoral.
Yeah, Corn Flakes was like, they were trying to make, I don't even know what they were trying to make, but they like made corn something and then like left it out overnight, and it like, I think it like molded or something, and then they just like fried it anyways just to see what would happen.
Because the 1890s was a weird time for food. We were still very much in the, hey, what does that mushroom do stage of food.
And then we got cornflakes out of it. But yeah, weird history of cereals. Yeah, so Jack the Ripper, I think he was like 18. I think he was pre-Kellogg's though, because I think he was like 1880s.
I stand by what he said. He invented cereal simply so he could put milk first.
He was, I think 18. I think he was 1880s because the serial killer that was in Chicago during the World's Fair.
H.H. Holmes.
Yeah, during the Columbian Exposition, there was a lot of references to
him possibly being
before. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So either way,
listen, I just read the Murder in the White City or whatever book that is about. Really good book. Highly recommend it. It's like Murder in the White City or something like that. It's a history of the Columbian Expedition and H.H. Holmes, and it's really interesting.
So it was either way. Lee Harvey Oswald, John Wilkes Booth.
I don't know if they're serial killers.
They are not, but still famous jerks nonetheless.
Yes. But yeah, anyone who puts the milk in first, that's just weird.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure UNM Engineering in our code of conduct has a policy against that, so you should probably look into that.
I would hope so at least.
Right, I wouldn't trust going to a school that doesn't have that in there. So, not that we're inspecting your breakfast in the morning, but if we find out about something, like I might have to call the FBI or something.
I mean, there's also the is a hot dog a sandwich?
No, and I've heard the arguments for it, and I think they're flawed and diametrically just the paradigm of what a sandwich is not merely between a piece of meat between two pieces of bread.
The best explanation I've ever heard of this argument is if you order if you were to go to a restaurant and say, "Can I have a hot dog sandwich?" What you're not going to be presented with a hot dog.
No.
You're going to be presented with maybe sliced hot dogs in between bread or something, but it's not just going to be like your standard bun, hot dog, mustard. So it is a sandwich if you can say something. I see the producer is trying to
have another question.
Get us back on track here.
Please. So we have another question from chat. What would you tell an incoming student that felt daunted by the idea of an engineering major and what required for it?
So I'm going to leave this, I'm going to let you start on this one, and then I will go into my spiel.
I would say, I don't know how to phrase this in a way that sounds comforting, and that sounds bad already. You have like 4 semesters or so of classes that are gen eds or like lower level math classes that if you don't do well in those, you're not going to lose any time, and you'll be able to transfer into whatever else you want. You're not going to lose time. You probably will still be able to graduate in 4 years, depending on how far along you are. So my advice is go for it, try it out. If you don't like it, transfer to some other department, transfer to, maybe you just don't even like UNM, transfer, that's fine. Some people don't like it here and would prefer a different type of college experience. But you have like almost, at least in nuclear engineering, we had like 2 full years of gen eds before we got even into the nuclear engineering department. So that's even if you decide you didn't want to do nuclear and you want to do mechanical, you have a lot of time to decide to do that, and nothing happens really.
Yeah.
So
Now, to clarify a touch, you do have some engineering courses your freshman and sophomore year. I don't want, just in case anybody was out there thinking, oh, so you don't do engineering at all until your junior or senior year.
you do. Yes,
Yeah.
you do.
It's just he's talking about like a lot of those lower level engineering courses are kind of transferable between different stuff, or you might be taking like thermodynamics or heat transfer or fluid dynamics, which you're going to be taking whether you're nuclear or mechanical, or there's a lot of the engineering majors that are going to require a certain one, and like out of our 9 engineering programs, 6 of them might require that class.
And it's also, you're going to be taking those after you've already taken your calcs, your general lab courses in chemistry, all of that. So you'll definitely have, I think freshman year there was maybe 1 course a semester that was actually nuclear engineering that I took. So even if you feel daunted in your first or second semester and want to go and do something else, you'll be a class behind or 2, and that's not unrecoverable.
Yeah, no,
So.
it's definitely not. And so the one thing I would say, well, not the one thing, the many things that I would say to students is, first off, I know you're afraid, you're a little scared. Guys, that's a good thing, right? This is a nerve-wracking experience, because if you're the really, really smart kid in class and you're thinking about becoming an engineer, your fear is, oh, dang, what if I'm not as smart as everybody thought I was? And if you're the kid who doesn't feel like you're smart in class, your thought is, oh, dang, that kid over there is really smart. He's going to kill it. I'm going to suck. What am I going to do? I can't keep up with him. My point being is everybody's scared. So it's a very normal thing to be scared. So for starters, I want you to know you're not alone in how you're feeling. A lot of times fear can be very isolating. And then we realize, oh, we were all scared together. It would have been nice to have known so that way I wouldn't have been scared on my own. Right? So there's that to start with. Secondly, so my degree, my background is actually psychology, and we know something pretty simple from psychology is that idea of an IQ being
Are
a
they gonna get it?
significant.
No,
Not
okay.
quite. That idea of like an IQ being a significant differentiator between people, yeah, that's not really a thing. Unless you have I'm talking about a very severe learning or neurocognitive imbalance. And I'm not trying to diminish the disabling of something like dyslexia, but I'm talking something very, very severe. Unless you have something like that, we can teach you engineering. You can
Yes.
learn engineering. Now, some people might grasp it a little easier. Some people might take a little bit more time. But that's what we have services for. That's what we have tutoring for. That's actually what I'm here to talk about today is the retention services for UNM students. So things like engineering-specific tutoring, things like seminars to help you, because whoever asked that question, you're probably going to deal with something called imposter syndrome. So to give you a little example of what that is, I did 8 years in the Army, and every time I put on the uniform, even though I was not only a really good soldier, not only an awarded soldier, but I was in charge of either a weapons team or a weapons squad, depending on exactly what we were doing and the manpower available at that particular day. And so what that means is I either had a team or a squad underneath me during different training events. And yet every time I put on the uniform, I felt like somebody was going to come and arrest me for, false valor or stolen valor. I can't remember what the term is. But, and it sucked. That's not a great way to feel. I would be driving to an Army base going, oh man, they're going to arrest me. They're going to stop me at the gate and arrest me. Like, oh man, I'm lying to my wife about being in the Army. And I'm like, how would I lie to my wife about being in the Army? What am I actually doing then? But that's how crazy the imposter syndrome thoughts can actually get. And so it can be disabling. And so we have seminars to help you overcome these things like imposter syndrome, because you do deserve to be here. You absolutely belong in a spot. And then, the flip side of that is a kid who never struggled in high school, got a 4.3 GPA, comes to college and struggles for the first time in life and has a meltdown because they don't know how to deal with it. And I know we can all go, those spoiled kids, they've never had any problems. They need to learn how to deal with it. Well, they do need how to learn how to deal with it, so we should help them, right? Whether you think they're spoiled or not, that's not really important. What's important is they need help, and we're here to help them. And so my kind of larger point here is we can help you out. Yes, and to be clear, engineering is daunting. So good thing is your cognitive perception skills are on point, right? You have identified a daunting task as daunting. Good job. But don't see the mountain and don't see the shadow that it looms over you, that it casts over you. See the one step at a time, because you can do one thing. You can either see one step at a time. Oh,
is Fossa going to get it?
There you are.
Yeah.
And so you can either do one thing at a time. You can either see the one step in front of you and take that step, and then see the next step and take that step, and see the next step and take that step. Or you can see the entire mountain and panic. But you can't do both of them. You can do one at a time. And so if you choose to see the mountain and panic, you can't become an engineer. But if you choose to see the one step and take the one step, you can do that. And you can become an engineer on the back end. And so yes, it will be hard. Dieter can attest to that. Voice of God back there can attest to that. But it's absolutely worth it, especially if you can find a problem that you want to solve in the world, because problems are solved primarily by engineers. That's what engineers do, is you guys are problem solvers, and so that's what you guys do. And so another story I kind of want to relate to you guys about how unrealistic and how unfounded those fears are is, so I graduated valedictorian of a class that sent 10 kids to the Ivy League, and I graduated valedictorian of that class. I have a Lego Millennium Falcon hanging on my wall, and I scored like a 34 or something like that on the ACT. I didn't become an engineer because I was scared of engineering, which is the dumbest possible thing I could possibly imagine now, 10 years later. But my point being is, if you had to label one kid as an engineer, it'd be that kid, right? And yet I didn't become an engineer because I was afraid. And so from the outside looking in, everybody would go, yeah, you definitely should have been an engineer. And I agree now. But at the time I was afraid. And so my point being is that fear, while understandable, fear is an unreasonable emotion, right? Not that you don't have reason to be afraid, but it makes us do unreasonable things. And so, yes, it's okay to be a little bit afraid, but don't let it make your decision for you.
And that's kind of I was almost on the flip side of that. I think I graduated my high school with like a 3.5. Like it's fine. My GPA was fine. And I got a 1800 on the SAT, I think. Maybe a 1600. I don't remember. It's been a while since I needed to know what my SAT score was. And I graduated. So even if you're like, oh, I wasn't, I'm not a 3.0, like I'm not the greatest student, like believe me, I am a terrible student. And you will also make a lot of friends in the engineering department that are just terrible students. But we all somehow make it through. So it's definitely not just possible, but like super obtainable if you just work at it. Some people have to work at it a little bit less than others. One of my best friends in the program, the smartest person I've ever met in my life, got like hundreds on like literally every single test, even when the class average was like 30.
Jesus.
It was infuriating to study with him. But it was also really nice to just have the answer key sitting next to me at all times.
Yes.
And compared to him, I had to study a lot. But some people have to study more than others. Some people don't have to at all. Some have to study a lot. And, that's just at the end of the day, we all graduated.
Yes.
We all have degrees. I'm pretty sure we all got jobs after college. There was like 15 of us, and I didn't keep track of where
No,
everyone
yeah.
went. So
And there's the
at
old,
least I did.
Yeah.
So
there's the old line. What do they call the guy who graduates last in medical school?
a doctor.
Doctor,
Yeah.
exactly. So, yeah, some places will care about your GPA. Others, you got a degree?
Yep.
Cool, come on in.
That being said, I think it's usually the deciding line is like a 3.5. So especially if you're above that in college, no one's going to care, really.
Yeah.
There are a couple of places. I mean, sure, if you have a 4.0, like it's going to be a lot easier. But that's not to say that, if you have a 3, especially if you're above a 3, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the national labs, the minimum hiring for them is now a 3.2. It used to be a 3.5 for those of you guys who are thinking or who are saying, no, it's 3.5. It used to be, they changed it, I think, 2 weeks ago, so it's a very recent change.
Update on that as well. They also removed asking about GPAs in applications.
Oh, there you go.
So there's no minimum GPA.
Yeah,
You
see,
just
so-
apply, and they'll still ask you for it, but it's not something you have.
Oh,
Yeah.
they'll also
Beyond
ask
there.
you for your transcripts and
Yes.
Yeah, it's a more holistic approach. They want
Yeah.
to know, what have you done? What are you working on? Because I hear this from companies all the time. A 3.2 student with cool experience is a 3.5 student with no experience, right? And a lot of them will go even lower with that number. So that's one thing. The other thing I want to point out is, for those of you guys who are thinking, oh, dang, my GPA is like super, super, super low. I'm not good. Like, I'll never be an engineer. First man to walk on the moon, from his autobiography, Neil Armstrong, 2.9 student in high school. So, if it was good enough for Neil, it was good enough for you.
Yep. So it's definitely, going into engineering is definitely daunting. It is definitely doable, though. Especially, I think it's not even weed out classes that I think are like particularly hard. I think I don't think weed out classes are hard because of like them making, like UNM making them hard or the department making them hard or whatever. I think that like if you're able to get through Physics 1, which I think in my Physics 1 class, like half the people dropped after the first test.
Wow.
Yeah, that was an insane metric. Especially, I got the test back and it was like an 80, and then like half the people dropped. And I'm like, it felt weird to me. But I think it's a lot of, if you're able to do those classes, and even if you have to retake them, the best thing you can learn from those classes is how to study, because everything in those early classes there is so much material online. There is a million YouTube, a million Khan Academy, CAPS, the engineering student services, everywhere is able to help you with those lower division classes. And once you're able to get a strategy of how to approach classes that you're struggling in, you'll be perfectly fine to go throughout the rest of your college career. That's really if there's one thing that I think college really, you'll learn in those first couple of years in college, it's how to study.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely a lot more of what you learn in especially Calculus 2 than actually any real Calculus 2, because, man, that class sucked. That class is difficult because it's not, like, none of the individual concepts are difficult. They just throw, like, it's kind of, they have to throw so many different disjointed things at you. So you just have to, like, none of, like, the weekly quizzes are hard, but it's so difficult to go from, like, the weekly quiz into a test.
Yeah,
because
combine it all.
You have to remember how to do that one weird trick you learned 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But once you develop a strategy to be able to do that, every other class after Calc 2 is so much easier. Especially, I don't know, I always found weed out classes were weird because the classes after them just got easier. So it always felt a little weird. So, but
I'm
that's
just gonna share my whole take. The moment I got into my coursework, like outside of the weed out classes, just became a breeze.
And I have no idea if that's just because, like, after those classes, I just developed strategies to be able to study and do tests, and it was just super easy for me to do that, or if the classes actually just became easier. But either way, once you make it past Calc 2, you'll smooth sailing. That's not all the way true, but
Yeah.
for the most part.
You learn to cope at that point.
Well, and
I
then-
don't know if cope is the right word, but
You learn to deal with it and figure out best test taking strategies for yourself.
Well, not only that, but the other thing is too, you take the Calc 2, you take the Calc 1, and you're just like, you're so in the weeds
yeah.
that it's like, when am I ever going to get to do the cool stuff?
Mm.
Turns out it's pretty much right after Calc 2.
Yeah, it's pretty much right after Calc 2.
And so, yeah,
nuclear engineering, I had to take Calc 3 as well, which that was actually one of the most fun math classes I ever took because it's just Calc 1, but now in 3 dimensions. And I've actually used all of that math, not just in my professional life, but in like some hobbies. When it's just like, oh, I need to be able to model a sphere. Well, I can do that. Super easy.
Yeah.
But like even that's fun. Then you start getting into, you know, the old math adage of like, oh, when are we ever going to use this? Right after Calc 2 is when you start actually using all of that higher level math, and especially once you get past ODEs. Turns out a lot of engineering is just ordinary differential equations. Turns out relating one thing to another thing is really important in engineering.
Yeah, who knew?
Who knew? So he's looking at his watch, so it looks like we were probably after this game wrap up the stream. So if you have any last minute questions here for either of us about the School of Engineering, if you are already in it and you know need advice, drop a question, or if you're looking to become a Lobo engineer, drop a question. If you have an esports question, I'll be happy to help with that. Anything else you have expertise in?
You want help with psychology degrees? I can help you with that. Or sociology. I got sociology too.
I know actually nothing about UNM's psych or sociology programs. Do we even have them?
We do have both.
Okay.
I have degrees in both. As recently as 2019, I think is when I graduated. My degree was in psychology and criminology, which a lot of people think criminology is criminal justice. It's not. There's actually a pretty significant difference between the two. Criminal justice is the study of the criminal justice system. Criminology is the study of how society produces criminals. Side note, we don't. That's pretty much the moral of the criminology degree. So I just saved you guys 4 years right there. Where is my $20,000 check? So, yeah, we do offer both. UNM psychology program is great at cognitive psychology, behavioral psychology, and neurological conditioning, specifically with opioid and alcohol use disorders. So basically, somebody uses way too many opioids, drugs, or alcohol. How do we help them?
Fossil just getting it right in. Is that 7-0?
That's Jesus. Yeah, this is a blowout.
That is quite the blowout here. What you said? I saved you 4 years reminded me of that John Mulaney bit.
Yes.
I got an English degree where someone told me to go read Jane Austen, and then I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh, 7-1. There we go.
Back just right off the tip off.
The comeback
there.
is on.
Yeah, he just. Fossil just swerved out of the way. Maybe he was thinking that there was someone behind him for defense, but there wasn't. Yeah, I guess in engineering, because I went in as a freshman into engineering, I know nothing about any other programs here at UNM.
So for what it's worth, we have something like 210 approximately degree plans, covering everything from film to psychology, sociology, arts, the production side of arts. UNM actually has a very low-ranked film school, number 254 in the nation, which shows you how terrible those rankings are because we also have the Netflix film studios right next to our film studios, which is the kind of thing that should be closer to number 1 than to 254.
Well, I mean, that's the UNM Nuclear Engineering, our master's program, is ranked 10th in the nation, I think. Or it fluctuates somewhere around 10,
Yeah.
I think. Because they, of course, never just have the same rankings year over year, even if nothing changes.
Right.
Because where would U.S. World
U.S.
get
News
their,
and World Report.
Yeah, where would they get their money if they just printed the same list every year? Ignoring that, I mean, even if you, like, sure, we're nominally 10th, but also we have Sandia and Los Alamos in our backyards. So, sure, we're not MIT. I'm never going to argue that MIT is going to be is not a better school than UNM, but
I will.
Like, at the same time, like, 10th, you're putting
I'll argue. I will.
Texas A&M above UNM, and there's no national labs in their backyard, and we have 2. Like, come on.
I will actually argue that point because, for starters, we're extremely hands-on, right? So doesn't matter what you want to do. We have mechanical engineers building race cars from scratch. We have nuclear engineers hand-loading fuel into a nuclear reactor. I know MIT allows you to do that, but not hand-load. You have to have a forklift license to do it. We have 2 national labs that you can intern at, and a lot of people say the benefit of MIT or Harvard or etc. is the connections it gets you. Okay, so like the connections to work at Netflix,
Yeah,
or a national lab,
yeah, the connections
or
to work
the
at
Space
Los
Force Research
Alamos.
Lab, or the Air Force Research Lab, or Facebook, or Intel, or SpaceX, or Virgin Galactic. Those connections. Because name me a spot with an hour-and-a-half radius that has more engineering than that, right? So I will put us up against any other engineering school in the world because maybe the actual schooling part, maybe they have us a little bit beat, but the actual connections and the ability to get you a job afterwards, which absolutely should be a major factor in where you pick a school, they can't touch us.
Absolutely.
They can't even come close.
That being said, I will always, if you're a nuclear engineer and you're looking for a job, Los Alamos, always hiring.
Yeah.
They are desperate for people.
Yes.
Especially now that they're expanding the plutonium pit production. They're looking to hire like 2,000 people in the next like
really?
2 years. Yeah. I don't know where they're all going to live. But
They're going to start digging out hobbit holes into the mountain.
yeah, I guess. But either way, there's always job opportunities here. Don't even need to go that particularly far to find them. Sandia's always hiring, Los Alamos especially.
Kirtland Air Force Base is
Kirtland
hiring
Air
a ton of
Force.
private civilians.
I think Intel's expanding.
$3.2 billion infrastructure upgrade.
I think like some of the cutting edge new
A self-driving car manufacturer is moving into the city. They expect to bring something like 1,500 jobs with them. But with all of that in mind, voice of God is telling us to wrap up here.
Yep.
So actually, I'll let you do the wrap up.
Yep. So thank you all for watching. Of course, if you still have any questions about the School of Engineering here, go and over here. Still not used to the green screen where you have to, everything's mirrored. But go look at that QR code up there. That will link you to everything that you need to know about the School of Engineering here at the University of New Mexico. So thank you to our Rocket League team sitting all the way over there for letting us watch their scrim, basically, and talk over it. Something to do instead of just listening to us ramble on about whatever. Thank you all for watching. If you want to join the UNM Esports Club, discord.gg/UNM Esports. Also, like all of our social medias, we have them all. Anything else?
Nope. It has been great talking to you guys. We appreciate the questions. And just one last time, the QR code above my head that I will not fail at pointing at least one more time tonight, but I will next week if you guys want to see that again. Just go to that. And if there's anything I talked about and you don't remember who I told you to contact me.
Yep. All right. So have a good night, everyone.